We all know life can be relentless between the demands of work, family, the quiet weight of things that we don't actually talk about, like past trauma and the sting of betrayal. It's easy to feel stuck or like you're walking this path entirely alone.
If you're nodding your head, we want to tell you about the Radiant Dawn Women's Retreat. This isn't just a weekend getaway. It's an intentional space designed for deep, wholehearted healing. Whether you're looking to reconnect with your heart or find the power to move forward, Radiant Dawn offers a roadmap back to your true identity.
So picture this, a gorgeous mansion in southern Utah, powerful experiences in nature, laughing like crazy with sisters who truly get it. It's a Christian-based retreat, but it's open to any woman of any faith who is ready to do the work and find real connection.
It's challenging, it's physical, and it is life-changing. You'll leave exhausted in the best way possible, spiritually and emotionally renewed. If you've been waiting for a sign to prioritize your own healing, this is it.
So come join us at the end of February in southern Utah.
Visit radiantdawn.org to learn more and secure your spot.
What are the different levels of recovery?
Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers.
We're therapists.
And we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin.
Brannon, how's it going, man?
That's okay.
Okay. Not all that great today.
It's fine. I slept good last night. I got to work this morning and the Wi-Fi was out.
Hence the change of scenery here.
It's amazing how dependent we are on it. It's like, if that's out, then there's no point at being at work. So I'm home right now.
It shuts down your whole office building.
The whole building. Nobody can get work done without the internet. What did we do before the internet?
I was thinking about that the other day with like my kids. Remember when we'd go out and we'd tell like mom and dad, hey, we're going somewhere, and they'd be like, all right, be home by this time, and then they wouldn't really have a way to get a hold of us for like hours at a time.
No, it was crazy. Like it was.
You don't even think about that anymore.
Crazy. It wasn't that crazy. We just no cell phones, no internet. Like, I'm so glad we were old enough to live in that time. Just know what that was like. Yeah. It's crazy. Well, I mean, what will our kids be saying? I guess the AI thing, right? Like, they'll be like, yeah, we lived before AI. And yeah.
I know, something.
I don't know. The world changes fast.
Completely.
Yeah. But I got to a place with internet as fast as I could because I can't live without it.
And now you're here.
Here we are. We're doing this.
Let's dive in, man. Let's go for it. I'm going to just read a review. This came from someone who was a guest on our show just recently, and we love the fact that you reached back to us. And it just says, what a gift. Very glad to have the opportunity to call in. These guys ask great questions, have wisdom about them and the experience behind their words. They're full of compassion and care. Hopefully they're as big of a blessing to others as they are to me. Keep up the good work, T&B.
Wow.
That was nice. Very
nice. Really appreciate it.
We love having you on the show. As we say all the time, our guests are what make the show the best. So
can I throw out a challenge? If you're a couple that listens to us and you have for a while, and you're stuck, maybe you're in a really hard situation, I'd challenge you to sign up to be a guest. Give us a crack at it. Give us a go. It's not therapy. You're just a guest on our show, but give Tyler and I 45 minutes of your time and see where we can get to. So challenging you. If you're just a listener and you've been like, oh, we should probably go on, go over the edge, go to therapybrothers.org, and you sign up there to become a guest. It's really easy. Once you're on the list, boom, you'll be on the show. So can't wait to talk to you.
We love that. I was kind of going back over like a whole bunch of, we're at 500 episodes now, Brannon, which means not every episode is with a guest. Obviously, we're alone today, but we've talked to hundreds of people from all over the world at this point. And how cool is it that for us, just to have had that as part of like our day-to-day life, Brannon, we get to talk to people from all over the world and get to know people and understand different situations, and what a gift to us.
So yeah, people in New Zealand, Sweden,
Norway,
States, Norway,
Africa.
It's crazy. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So we're here for you no matter where you live, and we'd love to talk to you. So should we dive in, Tyler?
Let's go, man. Let's talk about it.
Okay. Do you want to start? Do you want me to start?
Yeah, I'll start. We're going to talk today about like people often get in the discussion, and we here on our show, we do it a lot, where we talk about like what is real recovery. And I think that goes kind of undefined because some of it is more of a feeling and doesn't have a lot of tangibility to it. And other definitions kind of stick with like the traditional mode of what it means to be in recovery, especially when you're talking about from an addiction lens. So the traditional way is to measure your sobriety and to say I've done so many days or weeks or months without my drug of choice, and then that means that I'm in recovery. We obviously look at it from a broader perspective, Brannon, and today we're going to talk about 3 different levels of recovery, and you can kind of listen and get a gauge on where you might fall. None of these levels are necessarily like bad or wrong. In fact, a lot of times they're stops along the same track to get to real recovery. But you'll also see that you might have particular frustrations if you find yourself in a certain level of recovery when we get into this.
Yeah, I think one thing to consider as well, Tyler, is if I just relapsed yesterday and I am going to therapy today and I am wanting to get sober, I'm in recovery. So hear me out. I realize I relapsed yesterday. I haven't really done anything, but I'm wanting to get better. I'm in recovery. So how could I say that?
Well, in the moment that you're in right now, you are in recovery.
Yeah. So that's why it's hard to define, right? Because we're talking about a process, and it's one little step at a time. And wherever I'm at with my motivation or whatever. Now, I would say not in recovery would be I'm in a pre-contemplative state of mind. I'm in denial and I don't want to change at all. That is not recovery, where I'm just continuing to act out and just do. But if I'm working on white knuckle sobriety, I'm in recovery. Now, one of the problems with this is people get stuck in the process of recovery. They get stuck at a certain place.
Sometimes they get so stuck that they get stuck kind of defining recovery the way we're going to try to do it today. And then they settle for one of these levels and call it recovery.
And that's where we talk to people all the time, Tyler, where you and I can we've done this long enough where it's like, oh, we can tell where they're at, and they're in recovery according to their definition of recovery, but they're stagnant. They're not getting the outcomes in their life that they actually want.
A lot of times there's a miscommunication in relationships around this too, because one person will say, "Hey, I'm in recovery," and they're in one of these levels of recovery, and their partner's looking at it going like, "You're not in recovery," because they're looking at it from the lens of one of the other levels of recovery and going, how does this not add up?
Right. So what we illustrate right now will give words to people to understand where are you in this progression, and what ultimately is the goal here, to actually get to a state of healing, and what does that even mean? So let's start with let's go through this, Tyler. So level 1 so there's 3 levels, and this is just 3 levels according to Tyler and Brannon. This is us that we've come up with this. There's 3 levels of recovery. Do you want to speak to level 1?
Yeah. So the first level of recovery, and this is when we get into this, I just want to make the caveat that I really relate to these levels from my own personal journey as well. In fact, I might even add an early bonus level that's not really recovery, but it's where I started from thinking I was trying.
Level 0?
Level 0. So if that's okay, Brannon.
Explain level 0.
Level 0 is shame-riddled motivation. Where
I messed up and I'll never do that again.
Yeah, how many of you listening, the last time you acted out was absolutely the last time, except you told yourself that 1,000 times. And then the way you tried to get yourself to not do it again was to tell yourself how terrible you were and how horrible you are and how unworthy you are, only to find yourself back there a day or a week or a couple weeks later doing the exact same thing you promised you'd never do again, because you were using shame as the motivating factor for trying to get better from shame.
Yeah, and I would say that on the betrayed side of things, there's a level 0 as well, of how many times will you get walked on, lied to, hurt, and you get hurt, you complain about it, but you don't have any boundaries and nothing actually changes. And so you're just left with more resentment, left with more of your own shame, wanting change, but nothing's changing. And level 0 is tough because for both sides of it, because you're starting to get conscious of the issues, the problems. You're aware of them. You're not unaware.
But the energy with which you're trying to work it is the main energy is shame, and that never quite produces the long-term kind of energy that you need for sustained success.
Yeah, something magical doesn't just happen and all of a sudden you stop acting out, or they stop, like you have boundaries. Like, it just doesn't just happen. And so the pain and the outcomes keep coming and coming and coming.
It's weird, Brannon. Like, I think of like my own journey and even a lot of our clients, and on both sides of this, like you're talking, it's almost like it becomes its own secondary addiction, to be in self-criticism all of the time.
Yeah.
It's like, it almost feels good, like you're doing something to get better, to criticize yourself after you fail. And then you continue to do it only to lead yourself down the same road again. And so it's like an endless loop of the failure of whatever it is, the lack of boundary, getting walked on, or the acting out, or whatever else. And then the self-criticism that makes you almost feel like you're back on the right track again and moving in the right direction again, only to be circling back to the same slippery slide you just went down.
Yep. We're talking about the shame cycle. We're talking about both the addiction cycle and the fear cycle at the same time. That's level 0. So let's shift. Can we shift into level 1?
Yeah. So that's usually where people live for a long time before they finally get conscious enough to say, hey, there's an issue. And then something like discovery or disclosure happens. And then you kind of step into these next 3 kind of levels at some level.
Yeah. So level 1 is like a compliant change. So I don't want these outcomes in my life anymore. And somebody is telling me what I should do in order to change. So I'll go to a group, I'll talk to a therapist, I'll have a spouse tell me, and I will try to force, and that's a key word here, I'll try to use fear and control and force to get myself sober enough, or to have those boundaries, or to do the right thing. And this is where we see people a lot, Tyler, where we ask them about what is recovery, how are you doing, and immediately they say things like, well, I've been sober for 6 months. And that's just a really good indicator. And we're not saying the sobriety is a bad thing, but it's a really good indicator of where they go immediately with that question, is to show that it's behavior modification. I'm working to just change what I do because something outside of me is telling me what I should do.
Right. And Brennan, I think when we look at like this level, like the one thing that I think in with good intentions happens is that somebody finally starts to say, for whatever the reasons, a lot of times we'll get into some of the reasons why people go into this kind of this form of recovery here, this compliant recovery. But a lot of times there's like, I'm looking for a way to change my life and I need the recipe because we live in a black and white recipe kind of world. So if I go to 3 meetings a week and if I do my dailies, if I do 6 of my 7 dailies every single day, and I have 3 bottom lines that are spelled out perfectly, and I have my boundaries written on a piece of paper and I follow them to the T, that in some ways I'm trying to establish new habits, but the key to this level is also the energy with which I do it. And what you said is the important, Brannon: control, force, fear. And a lot of times, and you kind of alluded to this, a lot of times this kind of compliant change also comes with a performance for other people element. I need other people. I need my therapist to see me as good or in recovery. I need my partner, my spouse, to see me as good or in recovery. In a lot of ways, the compliant change is often an attempt to control, I would say even manipulate other people's feelings about my recovery as it is my own recovery.
Yeah, and as a result of that, some of the indicators or things that you'll see is, if I don't get that validation from others, then I just crumble or I get angry. Or so what you'll see is somebody claiming to be in recovery or working recovery, but they're very codependent and connected to others for approval, which reflects that they're not getting their deeper question answered. They're not doing that deeper work, being able to be grounded and centered and at peace with themselves, because they're always bouncing it off of somebody else or something else in order to be okay.
Yeah, I think several episodes I shared a story like this, but I remember a guy came into group one day and he was just like, you could tell it. They come in and they all come in with a different energy, right, Brannon? Sometimes they have the rain cloud. Sometimes there's like smoke coming out of them, like they're angry about something. This guy came in and he sat down in the corner with his arms folded and he was all frustrated. And we kind of doing some check-in stuff. And he like said, like, hey, what's going on? Something's a little off for you today. And he's like, I've been doing everything. He's like, I've been doing my homework. I've been going to my meetings. He's like, I've washed the dishes for like 36 days and I haven't got a single comment from my partner about what I'm doing. Yeah. Right. And like, he was almost ready to like throw his hands up and be like, I'm done. Like, I'm out. Right. And then of course the whole group kind of like, half of the dudes are like, me too, I totally relate. And then the other half of the dudes were like, hey, do you hear yourself? Like, what energy are you coming at this from? Right. And they're like, the fact that it's been 36 days of washing the dishes is a problem.
Yeah.
Like, it's an actual problem because you're keeping score. Like, you're keeping track and you're doing it so that your partner will tell you that you're a good boy or that you're amazing or that you're incredibly in recovery, or that maybe the guys in group can go like, oh, dude, you're the man. Right. Instead of coming in and saying, hey, I'm doing these things because I'm trying to live a different life.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Now, I do want to talk about the other side, the betrayed, here a little bit. This happens with them as well. And I think this is one of the harder things to grasp. And we talk about this a lot, which is, at first, a lot of the feelings that they have is the issue here in our relationship is about them, is about their acting out. It's their fault. And the truth is the things that they have done have absolutely affected the relationship.
100%.
So it's easy to focus over on your partner's behavior modification to try to fix all of your problems. And, but what happens is, they come to group a lot of times and things like that, and want to shift their partner. And, it's awesome, Tyler, the type of people that we attract into our groups aren't that. They're people that understand something from the betrayed side of things. And it's that those things that my partner has done, the betrayal, is absolutely not okay. And I now get to go on a deep process of healing and understand myself better so that I can be the healthiest version of myself, because I'm in a relationship with somebody with an addiction. And if I don't do my work, my deep work, then I'm going to be caught in these cycles with them, cycles of codependency, cycles of lack of boundaries and resentment and self betrayal, all kinds of things. So I guess what I'm saying is level 1 is still about that other person and being motivated by that other person for the betrayed as well.
I just add something on that. Just thinking about this, one of the kinds of stumbling blocks that I see people who've been betrayed fall into with this level of recovery is they're still living from the place of the shoulds. And one of the biggest places is that fresh after a disclosure or a discovery, especially if you come at it from like a really valued way or kind of the deep Christian sense way, there's this high priority on forgiveness. And a lot of times the betrayed partner will compliantly offer forgiveness, but they leave their own emotional process. They leave their own, and they think that offering forgiveness means full trust again and going right back to normal. And that's all compliant, especially when the heart is still aching. The heart still has the pain. It still has the anger. It's still got the grief, the sadness. But in order to make things good and to be good and to make things better, I'm going to dismiss all of my experience for a minute. And I'm going to just pretend as if everything is okay and that I've offered forgiveness. And what often happens in this scenario, I've noticed this, Brannon, there's like a phenomena that happens where that couple will actually do really well on the outside in the early parts of recovery. And then about a year in or so, the betrayed partner will have all of that unresolved stuff start to like crop up. And then they're like going like, why are we here? We should be way past this right now. Or like, and a lot of times that delayed reaction is like, it's like pressure building up on the inside and it comes out pretty strongly.
Yes.
Because it's never attended to when it's fresh.
Well, as you're talking, I'm thinking like, and this is why sometimes we see with relationships that if real good recovery starts happening, the relationship will actually get worse before it gets better. Because if the compliant recovery happens on both ends, it can actually feel like it gets better.
But it's trying to make it go back to normal.
It's not getting better. Whereas like if I'm a betrayed partner and I get out of that over attachment and I focus on me and I'm like, okay, I'm going to step into my strength. I'm going to get the support. I'm going to practice healthy boundaries. I'm going to be honest about who I am and how I feel. All of a sudden, you're not just having sex out of fear. You're not trying to be good enough for your partner. You're not holding your tongue because you're worried that you're going to upset them. And so you're showing up more honest. And showing up more honest is going to be uncomfortable because your partner's used to you showing up
in performance mode
to keep the peace and to try to avoid the pain and discomfort because you're worried. So yeah, compliant mode for the betrayed partner absolutely is not deep real recovery. Compliant mode for the person who's acting out. It's interesting, Tyler, and I think we illustrate this with our guests all the time, but compliant mode is almost worse on a relationship than level 0 in some ways, in that like the partner is like, I'm supposed to be like trusting you more, but you're more fake. You're
still not trustworthy.
Yeah, you're doing this for everyone else. You're not showing up authentic. And this is where we see couples a lot, where the betrayer is like, what? Like, look at me. Look, and it's like puppet man, like, ooh, I'm performing. Look at me. Can't you see that I'm good? And what is that partner like?
They're like, whoa, that doesn't feel sincere at all. And now I feel almost like I'm being gaslit. And then the person who's doing all that work, they're exhausted and tired, but they're not getting the real benefit of what that work could offer if they had an engaged heart.
Yeah.
Right.
And this getting caught in that place right there that we're describing is common.
It's really frustrating, and it's a hard place to be.
Yeah.
Just conscious enough to know you should do something, but not ready to go fully wholeheartedly go into it yet.
Well, yeah. And so that leads us to level 2, which is, you just kind of described that almost, which is like, it's ambivalent change. I'm conscious enough to do some things, but when it gets too uncomfortable, I don't know if I'm going to do it. Like, there's a beast over there, a demon I got to face that I don't know. So like, I'm going to like retreat back to my comfort zone here. I'm going to get out of the arena for a minute, but that one over there, I like, I'll go try that one and I'll go do that one. And, I went to that retreat, like you guys got me to the retreat, but then afterwards, like, I know I'm supposed to go home and do some work on myself, and like, I don't know, like, so it's that, like, I want it. I can see the benefit of the journey. My heart is humble enough to know that I need it, but I don't know if I can actually do it.
You start to kind of have at least the flicker of hope at the end of the tunnel. You start to see there's a little bit of light, or, in some ways, this second level of recovery is like, it's like the story of the little red hen. You start to realize that there could be a freshly baked loaf of bread at the end, but you're not quite sure you're willing to grind the wheat, and you're willing to pick the wheat, but you don't really want to do the baking. And so you start kind of like doing several things, but not doing the big things. And what I mean big things is like the most, I should say, the most productive things. So you're kind of now led to this spot where, for most people, they start going, hey, it feels kind of good to take care of myself with my daily charge. I can do that. And hey, my lines of defense are working pretty good. And, I've got a couple friends now that I can talk to about this, and life is pretty dang good. And then they start looking over the edge and going, I still got those demons in those caves I got to go deal with. I've got those false beliefs that are still there, or I've got past trauma that needs resolved, or I got some deep-seated vulnerability issues that I got to get, like, that I need to address. And that's where people will kind of get like, I'll still do this and this and this. It's recovery a la carte, basically.
But there's a reason for it. And I think if we were to give some real life examples here, where it's like I've literally seen people where they're doing great work, but both I know and they know that until they have boundaries with their mom, their work is stunted. They're stuck. And you look at that and it's like, wow, they have like deep, complex trauma with that relationship with their mom. And every time they're around her, they turn right back into that little child who's reminded of all their shame. And to actually truly go address that is so overwhelming. And yet, without doing that, they're going to be stuck. And I could give example after example. I'm just making this one up. Example after example of things like that, where your biggest fear or your biggest trauma is the thing that you need to deal with. And there's no way, we talk about, Tyler, you're standing, at a boulder or whatever, and you can't go around it. You can't turn your back to it and pretend like it's not there. You can't jump over it. The only way past it is through it. And that's what we're talking about here is as you think about going through these things, I don't know if I can. And this is where step 3 comes in. Turn your will and your life over to the care of God, surrender into it. That's what needs to happen so that you can deal with whatever it is.
Yeah, the truth is that, and this is the hard part, people want to come to therapy all the time because their lives are in shambles. They want to feel better. And when they start working real recovery, what they come to realize is that at least half of really good recovery is learning what to do with the inevitable pain and struggle and that it's not always going to be blissful. And the truth is that the pathway to real recovery includes includes some confronting some things that we've been running from for our whole life. And Brannon, as you were talking earlier, like with this level 2, I imagine that pretty much, I would bet almost every one of our listeners, and us included, could pause for a minute and think about our own lives when some area of change we're trying to make. And we would find that we're sitting in level 2 because we're conscious enough that we got a problem. We're doing some things that are maybe in the right realm of helping, but we also know that there's one or two things that would really start to move the needle for us. But for whatever reason, we're afraid of the change that it's going to elicit or the discomfort that inevitably has to come. And that's why we tell people all the time in recovery that you have to be in a spot where the pain of changing with the possibility of a hope looks a lot better than the pain of continuing to go where you're going to go, because there's pain either way. And a lot of times we get stuck in this little middle ground of, oh, I made some progress, but oh, that's scary. That's hard. Like, I don't know if I want to do that yet. And then that holding pattern actually can become a comfort zone for some people. And then it also becomes a place where there's even a different version of pain and suffering, because now there's more knowledge and more awareness, but the lack of action then keeps you feeling stuck.
I think of like someone struggling with addiction, with that faulty core belief of no one will love me as I am. And then like them working on themselves and actually being more authentic and showing up with boundaries. It's or actually talking about times when they mess up, and opening up about that and being honest. It's those moments that we're talking about when that exile part is so strong and overwhelming, and yet you turn and you face it and you deal with it, and you start to realize that the fear that's been driving things is actually like there's a way beyond it. And I think of a client that I watched in a cave journey, and that's metaphorical, right? It's the type of caves that we put people in. And as he was in that journey, this pain in his body came up, and it was this like intense pain. And he's stuck in that pain. He didn't know what to do with it. He's just like, it's just there. And it was interesting because as he was riling in this pain, he's like, what should I do? What should I do? Like, how do I, and I told him, like, what do you think I told him?
I would suspect that you told him to open himself to it and go towards it and accept it.
You're a good therapist, Tyler.
And validate it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. I said, sit with it, just be with it. Like, what is it?
Honor it.
And as he did, like, all of these memories of being abused came up. All of these memories of trauma started to come out, and you can imagine the emotional, spiritual, like horrific experience that he had in this. But he surrendered to that. He allowed himself to go through it. And that's how healing happens. Now, if he's subconscious of those things and they just start to manifest themselves as physical pain, because he's so buried it away, then those things are going to drive his behaviors, which are going to ultimately drive his outcomes in his life. And when we talk about deep healing is a real thing. Like, it actually happens. But the question is, are you going to allow yourself to do it? And not everybody has that type of abuse or that type of physical pain. Sometimes it manifests itself in having a boundary with your spouse.
It might be the thing that you're listening to right now going like, I really need to have that talk with my boss.
Oh yeah. Or I need to join
that you waited on for 2 years.
I need to join a group and actually speak up. Like, and actually make some friends, because
I need to do my homeworking.
I don't have any friends. Like, I don't follow through. Like, I need to do the opposite of what I do to protect and actually allow myself to feel something new. And so that level 2 is, I know I need to, but I'm standing on this threshold, looking over this abyss, scared to jump off because I don't know if I'm going to float or die or whatever's going to happen. So I'll just stand on this threshold. I'll dip my toe over it a little bit, like, oh yeah, I know, and Tyler, I love working with people right in this space because like, I love, like you say, we're all there in our own ways. But I love to watch people like, I know, like I was talking to a guy this weekend and he's like, yeah, I'm just threshold sitting. Like, that's what I do. That's
We're just threshold sitting.
That's where I'm at.
When you're sitting on the fence, that's the least comfortable place to sit.
It's very uncomfortable.
It's really uncomfortable. Yes. It's funny. I just got this image in my mind, Brannon, for this level 2 of like ambivalent change. It's what you said, dipping your toe in the water. A couple of years ago, we went out to this, there's a lake called Porcupine Dam by my house. And it has this thing where you paddleboard across the lake, and then it has like a scaled cliff that starts at almost ground level with the water, and then it goes all the way up to like 50 or 60 feet. Right. So we go paddling over there and like, hey, let's all go jump off the cliffs. And I've got me and my family, my kids, all my girls with me. And we get over there and I go like right up to the very like top and just like barrel off, and I'm like, oh, that's so awesome. I love that. And my daughters, like 2 of my daughters go and jump right off the top. My youngest daughter is like, I want to do that. She goes like all the way to the very top, and she's like, there's no way I'm doing that. So she scales back to like, she goes down the cliff to like a 20-footer, and she's like, no, I can't do that. And then she goes all the way down to like the 10-footer, and she's still stood there for like 15 minutes with the whole like countdown, like 1, 2, 3. She never would jump, but she'd always get her leg like right off the edge. And then finally she goes down to like the 5-footer. And then she jumps off and she's like, oh, that was really fun. I'm like, yeah, go up to the 10. She goes up to the 10, and like after 2 tries, she jumps. And then after that one, she caught it and was like, this is awesome. That's so cool. And then pretty soon, like 3 jumps later, she's all the way up at the top jumping off but she needed to have that kind of confrontation with the dipping of the toe, so to speak, and saying, eventually I'm going to have to go for it. Now, in her case, and this is what I'd say to people in recovery, when you start looking at these levels of recovery, if you're in a group or you go to 12-step or something else, you will feel these levels of recovery, and you'll also see the progress of the people at different levels of recovery. Right. Yes. And so once you catch a glimpse of it, once you catch a taste of it, if you're sitting in a 12-step meeting, or if you're sitting in a group and you look around the room and there's like 2 people who are killing it, doing their step work or doing all their assignments, you see real change happening, you feel the energy shifting in them. It's a pretty good sign that they're moving into this level 3 we're going to talk about. And you'll be able to trust that their progress is something you could grasp onto too, if you give yourself a chance to jump and make the leap. Yep.
And so let's shift to level 3. And it's inspiring to watch. It's courage in action. But a person in level 3 recovery, we call it, so level 1, we call compliant change. Level 2, we call ambivalent change. And level 3, we call change of being. So when people face their biggest fears, well, I love your analogy there. When they're jumping off the highest one because they've jumped off the lower ones and they build up to that, they're like, their countenance changes, their energy shifts. They don't live in a place of fear and control and protection. Their nervous system calms down, and they are in their power, and it's beautiful. And they don't make mistakes. I mean, they do make mistakes, but they navigate it. They fall often, but they navigate it. They're extremely connected to God, self, and others. They're open, and they're also loving. They're inspiring others to shift as well. So they're not perfect. I've seen people with massive amounts of trauma get to this stage 3. I've seen people with less trauma get to this stage 3. But things like acting out or struggling with boundaries, like sobriety becomes a byproduct. It just automatically starts to happen. Stepping into honesty and boundaries is automatic and natural. So I don't know, anything you'd like to add, Tyler?
No, I think you just think we talk about this on the podcast all the time, but people who reach this kind of energy of recovery, of like the change of being, it's the difference between fixed and growth mindset.
Yeah.
And you think about where they started at ground zero, level zero. Hey, I'm fixed, like control, be perfect. Oh, I can't be perfect. Release, back and forth, punish myself for it, be critical, pass or fail, to the process of being growth minded, which is this world is now an opportunity for me to learn, grow, improve, find color, savor, experience in life. And that energy, and this is the thing, the change of being comes with, in a certain sense, uncovering your identity and fully accepting it again, because then you know at the core you're already good. You're a good person who makes mistakes and you can learn from them, rather than I fear that I'm a bad person.
Yep.
You know, another way of looking at this, Brannon, and you see it all the time. People, like, I was just going through you were talking, I just pulled up our healing journey, and I went to the very end of it to see who's completed it. And so far, since we launched it not too long ago, we've had just over 300 people that have signed up for the healing journey. And then I went through and I'm looking at all these names, and I went to the very end of it, the people who have completed it. And looks like there's about 14 people who have fully completed it so far. And there's 2 people that I don't know who they are at all. So I can't, but the other 12 are the kinds of people that if you came to like our groups or went and did our events or whatever, you'd be like, that person, something is different about that person.
Yeah. Yep.
And what it is, it's this full change of heart. It's a change of being. The Christian term for it is a mighty change of heart.
Right. We could call it born again. We could call it
I've become new in Christ. Whatever.
Heart. We could. David Hawkins wrote a great book called Power versus Force, and he talks about moving along certain stages of energy and progression, and that's what we're talking about today. Is level 1 is a fear-based, force-based. Level 2 is somewhere in between, and level 3 is a power-based, love-based way of living. And the way that there's actually a magical way to shift from force and fear into power and love, and the only way to do it is through courage. And so when you say there's 300 people and 14 have done it, that 14 was actually a high number, I thought. And I'm not saying that because it's impossible to do it.
Well, those are just the ones who have already completed. There's still a lot of people still working on theirs, it's barely started or whatever.
They're in progression, and this takes some time. But the beautiful thing is it's there for the taking. And Tyler, I think one of the differences between really what we do versus, and I'm not trying to rip on any other programs or anything like that, but a lot of the programs get stuck in level 1 or level 2 of recovery. And the problem with that is it's almost like it's almost like a facade for what real recovery is. Because in level 1 and level 2, you're still stuck. And we know, Tyler, you and I know that to do this deep trauma work is actually the critical piece to the real healing that has to happen. And there's beautiful modalities, there's beautiful ways to experience it, to do it, to practice it. It's there for the taking. And you need to be willing to surrender to that process to actually reap the benefits of it.
And that's where you get into the principles we talk about of real recovery. So there are logistical things that help. Everything that we hear talked about, doing your daily charge, having your lines of defense, building your team, engaging in mindfulness, practicing self-compassion, all of those nuts and bolts kinds of things really do move the needle, but they move the needle more when you look at recovery as a shift in the main energy sources that you're drawing from to live your life. So you're moving from fear, shame, doubt, control, coercion into fear moving into acts of courage, and courage moving into an energy of love, possibility, hope, growth. That's what you're shifting into. And so doing the work is good to establish habits and stay sober or make yourself have planted feet again emotionally. But that work is what it's really doing, is it's cultivating a way to operate from those fuel sources of love, possibility, growth, hope, and to adopt a life of acting in courage.
And all these big things that we're talking about, of all this wonderful stuff, if you just got cheated on, or if you're acting out in ways that you don't want to, you might be hearing us and saying, like, really, like, I just want to stop that, or I don't want to get cheated on anymore. And like, can't we just fix that and then be done? Do we really got to do this deep, like, journey, this big thing, you know, like? And the truth is those outcomes that you're getting in your life are happening because of the deeper stuff. And you can stop for a while. You can absolutely find there's such thing as a dry drunk. You can find some sobriety. You can stop the behaviors. But if you really want to create deep love and intimacy, you have to heal those the most painful wounds.
That's an internal process.
Yeah.
That's the mighty change of heart.
Yep. So we're starting March 9th. We're starting this journey again with whoever wants to join us. And we would love to have you, whether you're single, whether you're in a relationship. If you acted out yesterday, or if you act out tomorrow, hopefully you don't. We still want you there. And we take you through this process one little step at a time. And we show you the way. Tyler cannot work it for you. He can't do your journey for you. I've seen him try to do that for people and it burns him out. So
that's a me problem.
Yeah, I can't work it for you, but we absolutely will give you everything that you need in order for you to partake and to have this journey. So please come join us. March 9th is our next Foundations. We'd love to have you there. So go to reclaimyourheart.org to sign up.
We are glad to have you here with us. Hopefully this is helpful to you. Maybe there's some things stirring inside of you. Maybe you see different parts of all three levels. And our challenge to you is to take a look and become conscious at the places where there might be still some acts of courage, and then take whatever that next step is that's on your heart right now. Until next time, keep on keeping on.